Sometimes people are right about things. Sometimes people are wrong about things. It's human nature. Like, the right thing to do is hit subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, because I want to hit 500,000 subscribers. The wrong thing would be to ignore that plea and ignore that plight. But in life, you're not going to have 100% accuracy. And I feel like it's a good thing to sort of keep a mental note about things. Keep a mental note about when you've been right about something and when you've been wrong about something. It sort of keeps you balanced within the universe. Now, I don't have a perfect track record. Far from it. I've been correct about some things. I've been incorrect about some things. But I like to keep a mental journal about certain things that I felt, well, you know, I think I was right about this, but just the vast majority of people disagreed with me. I thought it was really spooky the way that they were handling the console editions of Cyberpunk way back in the day, and people got genuinely upset with me. They got really mad at me. But as time went on, the perception, the balance of everything sort of went back into my favor because, well, when the game Cyberpunk came out on consoles, it obviously was not the way it was intended to be. It was not the desired method of perceiving this video game because it was kind of a mess and there was lots of issues and technical issues and things that were missing that were promised within the game. But I'm not talking about Cyberpunk today. I'm talking about something a bit more recent because I was right. And I'm sorry because evidently I need to apologize to people for being right about something because I received so much hatred, so much negativity for simply bringing about awareness of a factually correct statement back in November of 2022 that people went off the deep end. It started this whole sort of movement, which in retrospect I find very funny that my words were so powerful because I was simply just looking at a market situation that was happening with two different video game consoles, and most people kept it video game related, but I feel like the backlash was just so funny. So many channels I know of were making videos about how I was wrong and I was misconstruing the data and misconstruing the information. There was reasons behind this, that, the other. So you know what? I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I was right because we're going to have to go and talk about, once again, the PlayStation 5 outselling the Nintendo Switch in Japan. Not just for 1 week, not just for 2 weeks, but for the past 3 weeks in a row, this has been the case. And this was something that I brought up in my mentions in November, saying that I thought it was a little bit interesting that the dominated Japanese marketplace that Nintendo has had a stronghold on since the inception, since the release of the Nintendo Switch, was starting to pick up steam with PlayStation, considering that PlayStation has completely removed itself mostly from the marketplace when it comes to Japanese PlayStation games by closing down studios that they had in Japan, focusing on a more Western focus. And of course it was just for 1 week, but I said, hey, you know, that's pretty interesting. That's kind of telling because it does show that the Switch is starting to slow down and the PlayStation 5 is starting to pick up steam. And holy hell, it was like I insulted people's mothers. It was like I insulted people's families for simply stating that the PlayStation 5 was starting to gain ground in Japan and that the Switch was starting to slow down. Why was this such a personal thing for people? I still don't know to this day, but I caught a lot of backlash from it. But now it's obvious that we have to start focusing on this. And let's be realistic here. Right now, today, the 17th, when I'm filming this video, I am playing my Nintendo Switch way more than I have within the past couple of months because of things like Metroid Prime Remastered, because of the introduction of things like Game Boy and Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance to Nintendo Switch Online. So I'm getting a lot of burn out of my Switch once again, which honestly had kind of been on the shelf, just kind of collecting dust a bit. You know, unless I was reviewing something, I wasn't really playing it for pleasure. I was just playing it more for work. But I feel like Nintendo's doing a good job with sort of captivating my interest once again in the console. But I still have to go back to the fact that the PlayStation 5 has outsold it in Japan for the past 3 weeks. There's no supply issues for the Nintendo Switch this time. There's no sort of crutch that you can sort of lean against and say, oh, well, this is the reason why. You're going to say it's software related because nothing came out for the PlayStation 5 that's lighting the sales charts on fire. It's mostly been Nintendo Switch software selling. So why is that happening? You know, why would console sales for the PlayStation 5 be up, but software sales aren't necessarily. And it's simply because of the fact that we have reached a market saturation point. I'm starting to understand a bit more Nintendo's mentality of why they feel like they're going to sell more systems this year than they did last year, because I think they're banking on people picking up a second Nintendo Switch. And I find that to be very short-sighted. I find that to be a bit foolish in the grand scheme of things, because I don't feel like that's going to be something that's happening. Of course, you could talk about, you know, the Tears of the Kingdom Switch OLED that's coming out, and people will be interested in that. Sure, you might see a bit of a market boost in terms of that, but are people really going to be going out in droves to buy a Nintendo Switch to play Tears of the Kingdom, or do they already have the Nintendo Switch? The whole point I was trying to make with my original videos, and I feel like I did a good job of conveying that, was simply that we're reaching a market saturation with the Switch. It's 122 million units sold plus. It's one of the best-selling systems of all time. At some point in time, sales figures are going to go down for the system. Sales figures are going to rise for other platforms because people already have it and they want something different. They will continue to support the system with things like new software and stuff like that. But from a consumer standpoint of having to buy the hardware, the people already have the hardware, and that's not a knock against Nintendo. That's not a knock against the Nintendo Switch. It's simply economic. It's simply business. If this was the case, if the Switch was supposed to last forever and continually sell forever, you would see no progression with hardware. We would still be playing the NES because, hey, I could just keep releasing software on the NES, and in my mind, it's going to keep selling, and it's going to keep growing, and this is going to be the one. So, like, that's... I don't understand. I feel like it becomes emotional for people. You know, they dedicate themselves to one platform and one console and one thing. I'm not a Nintendo YouTuber, because if I was a Nintendo YouTuber, I sure as hell wouldn't be making this video, because your favorite Nintendo YouTubers aren't, and that's not a shot against them or anything. I just find it funny how all of a sudden the narrative has changed when people used to focus on Japanese system sales, because that was the thing that they could always point to as the Nintendo Switch is dominating, as the Nintendo Switch starts to lose footing in the NPD and is being outsold by stuff like the PlayStation 5 in the United States. They could always point to the Japanese marketplace. Now that you can't really point to the Japanese marketplace, all of a sudden nobody's talking about sales. Nobody's talking about these things. And I don't get why. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I upset you because I was right. I'm genuinely sorry that this, for some reason, plays a role in your life and plays a role to where it emotionally hurts you that a system is starting to trail off like a natural life cycle of every video game system since the dawn of time. Bizarre behavior from grown-ass people, but hey, it's the internet. We all got to put on a show and dance, you know. Life's a stage, all the world's a play, you know. You gotta put on, but I don't know, man. 3 weeks in a row with no killer software for PlayStation, you know, I think the tides are starting to change, and that's a good thing, because you know what that means? We'll probably get new hardware sometime. And isn't that what we want? Don't we want new Switch hardware? Do we really want to play this thing forever? I don't know. I don't get it. So I'm sorry that I was right about this. I don't know what the point of this video was. I just wanted to have a little fun, because people were always taking shots at me at my expense. So why can't I get a little bit back, right? It's all in good fun. It's all in jovialness. And I'm sure people will make response videos to this, and I'll make them money. So hey, you know, you're welcome. Make sure my check is in the mail. Let me know what you think of this in the comments section down below. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new, hit that subscribe button. If not, thanks for watching. Share the video around, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.